Hi, Shannon. Looks like you're the first one in here. Love My Freedom was in here, but I don't see her responding now. So my girl better get in here as well, and some other people. Better get in here. Okay, my sound is working. That's good. It's funny because it says that I have 2 people, but I think one of them is me, so that doesn't count. Hey, girl, hey. Love My Freedom. Hi, Luca. Adrian. Okay, so some people are coming. That's good. Cheryl, hi, welcome. If you're new to my channel, please hit the subscribe button. You know, all the usuals that everybody else always gets to say. I get to say it now. That's pretty cool. Okay. Hi, everyone. So I wanted to do a live stream because today is the 1-year death anniversary of my boyfriend who overdosed on fentanyl and methamphetamine. And this is really hard for me to even talk about in my real life, you know, to actually speak it with my voice. I can type about it, but this is the first time that I'm attempting to really tell a lot of people, especially at one time, what happened that day. And so I pre-recorded it because I didn't want to lose my train of thought in the middle of speaking if I was live. So before I share my story, I'm going to share a video called Dead on Arrival. It's about, I think, like 25 minutes. And I found it on the Los Angeles County Sheriff's website because they were trying to spread fentanyl awareness. So this video is basically going to be parents sharing their stories of finding their teenagers overdosed on fentanyl. So it's really sad. That's why I put a trigger warning on the screen. You know, it's probably going to bring you to tears to hear these parents talk about the way that they lost their children. And in a lot of the cases, the kids didn't even know that they were getting fentanyl. So that's the problem. We have a serious epidemic in this country. They're bringing chemicals over to Mexico from China, and they're making like this bootleg fentanyl in labs in Mexico. And then they're bringing it across the border and it's killing our people. Like, this is a real virus right here. And I'm all for freedom of doing whatever you want with your own body. If people want to use drugs, I don't feel that I have a right to tell them not to. So that's not what I'm trying to say right here. What I'm trying to say is people need to make informed decisions about what they do. And I also feel that when people do things that harm other people when they're on drugs, that behavior should be focused on, and that's what people should be held morally responsible for. Unfortunately, when somebody dies and they leave behind loved ones, there's nothing you can do at that point. So I want people to understand the seriousness of that every time that they use this, that could be the result. And you're going to leave behind people that you didn't want to leave behind, that you didn't want to hurt. So that's going to be my main message for tonight. And I will open the panel later if anybody wants to share anything. So I'm going to go ahead and start this video now. Okay, when it starts playing, put a 1 in the chat if you can hear it, please. Can you guys hear it okay? Yeah, okay, cool.
You don't even know what you want. I'm done.
sitting there and telling me.
Unresponsive at this time. ETA about 2 minutes. Anything further?
My name is Dominic Tierno. Since I graduated high school in 2014, I've had the great honor of directing a number of documentary films about drugs and drug addiction. Our mission is to revolutionize drug education by telling real-life stories that motivate young people to make one of the most important decisions of their life, and that's the decision to not use drugs. 2020 was the worst year for drug overdose deaths that we have ever seen. In the beginning of summer in 2020, I came across this article. A 14-year-old kid from a town I grew up in had died from what appeared to be a drug overdose. He's a smart, funny guy who, like many kids, was struggling with some anxiety issues and decided that he would turn to drugs to see if he could help himself with that. What happened was he went and bought this pill, this Oxycontin pill, from a guy he had known because he thought that pill might ease the pain of what he was going through mentally. Well, he didn't know it, but that Oxycontin pill wasn't a real Oxycontin pill. It was a fake pill. It looked just like the pill that he wanted to try, but instead of Oxycontin, it was made with fentanyl, a synthetic opioid known to be 50 to 100 times the strength of morphine. That one pill he took that night killed him almost instantly, and his mom found him dead in his bedroom the next morning. Before I can even finish that article, I'm scrolling through and I see another linked article. Not far away, around the same time, another 14-year-old dead from fentanyl. So then I go back to Google and I type in fentanyl deaths. I hit search, and then it all made sense. I saw another kid, and I saw high school students, college students, young adults, all recent, all over the country, all dead from fentanyl. And so I'm looking at that and I'm saying, these aren't just normal overdose deaths. These people think they're taking one drug and turns out they're being killed. Why have we not heard about this?
It's a drug 50 times more potent than heroin, and doctors say just touching it can send you to the emergency room. We're talking about the synthetic opioid fentanyl.
The first time I heard about fentanyl was my sister busting in my house, being like, "Don't touch anything in his room, it's fentanyl." And I'm like, I don't even know what you're talking about. Like, I have no idea what's going on right now. So most people haven't heard of this because we haven't been talking about it. Back in 2013, when it first started showing up, only about 3% of drug users were dying from it. Now we're looking at over 50% of drug deaths being attributed to fentanyl. If Alexander could have got a lesson, I wish he knew about fentanyl. I wish he understood that fentanyl poisoning is real and that every time you try something, you're playing with your life. It is pill roulette every time you try it. As a mom of a kid that was...
I want to pause really quick and point out something that she said. She said fentanyl poisoning, and that's different than an overdose. On my boyfriend's coroner's report, it said fentanyl and methamphetamine toxicity, not overdose. So people need to understand that this is a straight up poison that they're putting into their body. It's beyond regular drugs. So I just want to make sure that everybody heard that.
Just trying to experiment. That's where it is. As a mom of a kid that died just wanting to experiment, I wish I could just shake you and tell you and make it real for you. But I don't know how to do that. I won't be there when you're faced with these decisions. I know that if he knew the effects of his passing, it would crush him. He never intended for me to find him on his bedroom floor.
never intended for his dad to administer CPR, trying to save his life while we were waiting for the paramedics. Even his 12-year-old sister wanted to run in there and try to help do CPR, but I held her back. Alex didn't intend for me to see him wheeled away on a stretcher and put into an ambulance. Alex had no intentions of me seeing him lying on a stainless steel table covered with a sheet with only his head showing. Alex had no intentions of me knowing what it felt like to kiss his face for the last time. The images that I'm left with of that day replay in my mind on a regular basis. Please do not put your family through this. And please, 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 I beg of you, learn about fentanyl now. Don't wait until your best friend has died, or a brother or your sister. Learn about it now so you can help your friends. You can tell them, you can warn them. You can be a very important part of saving lives.
This would be how much cocaine somebody would have to ingest to kill them. This is the approximate number of prescription pills one would have to ingest to kill them. This is the amount of heroin the average person would have to ingest to kill them. Fentanyl. You're gonna have to bring that camera up here real close to see it. This much fentanyl would kill you and I if we split it. They put fentanyl in cocaine. They put fentanyl in heroin. They put fentanyl, as we already know and talked about, into counterfeit pills. It's odorless, it's tasteless, you don't know it's there. And when you find out it's there, it's too late. You won't even know it. You'll be dead. 2,500 people would be killed by that amount of fentanyl. Does that sound like a drug to you? Does that sound more like a poison? I was a police officer for 31 years, and during my time in narcotics, I'd never heard of fentanyl. In homicide, I saw many, many tragic things. I saw people that were killed by shootings, stabbings, beatings. Nothing that I saw at that particular time would have ever prepared me to see Jessica. I was at work. I got a telephone call from my wife, Cherie. She was frantic, uncontrollable, screaming into the phone about Jessica. And I knew something had happened. Jessica lived with her boyfriend, Nicholas, and a stupid decision in which they ordered and had some cocaine delivered to them, to their house, resulted in them ingesting it. And my daughter, at that particular time, became forever 29 years of age. Jessica didn't want to die. She has a beautiful daughter, Alara, who is now with Cherie and I, and we are raising. And she had everything to live for. Jessica knew about fentanyl, but, you know, from talking about this issue after she died with her friends, I discovered that Jessica had a friend that had even died a couple of weeks prior to her death. And Jessica had spoken to her friends about being afraid. Well, if you knew about it, why would you even risk it, sweetheart? You knew it. Why did you make that bad decision? Who knows? Those are things that you'll never answer. We're just trying to prevent it from happening to somebody else.
Dealers are using social media to show off what they've got, infiltrating feeds of ever younger teens curious about this flashy lifestyle. With more addicts and overdoses by the day, they've got drivers on demand delivering any drug to your door 24/7.
Social media app has changed the game when it comes to narcotics. Fentanyl's all over the place. And just massive amounts of it. And some of them are going to fall trap to that.
4 years ago, DEA in Arizona seized 0 fentanyl. This last year, we seized enough fentanyl to kill 70 million people. You're playing Russian roulette out there when you're taking these pills and you're buying this stuff off the street.
Social media has completely changed the landscape of the drug trade. Most people start by searching for what they think are prescription medications, and drug dealers respond saying that's what they have. But what you have to be careful about is what you're asking for and what you get can be two different things. And if you're buying the stuff from somebody online, their bottom line is they're just looking to make a quick buck. They don't have your best interest in mind. They'll tell you whatever you want to hear. Unless you're getting these drugs from your doctor or a licensed pharmacy in a bottle that has your name on it, you may as well assume these drugs are fake. You're not getting the real thing. Fentanyl's literally taken over the drug market. It's in everything. It's in meth, it's in cocaine. Obviously, the counterfeit pills that are out there. We're starting to see it showing up now in marijuana. The people who make this stuff, who are putting the fentanyl in everything, they have one goal: to get you hooked. Fentanyl is highly, highly addictive. They're going to trick you into thinking you're getting something you're not, to take you down that rabbit hole, to get you hooked on fentanyl and have you become an addict. Because to them, you're a customer and you'll be a returning customer at that point. One of those times, you're going to get enough fentanyl to kill you. Alex was in her bedroom at night, getting ready for bed. She went on social media in search of oxycodone. It wasn't hard for her to find a drug dealer, and she had what she thought was oxycodone delivered to our house. One pill had enough fentanyl to kill 5 people. My daughter took half of this pill and died instantly. In an instant, my life was changed forever. My last memory of my daughter is of her being wheeled out on a gurney. I saw my daughter brought into this world, and I saw her leave this world. I have 4 daughters and a beautiful wife. Every time we take a family picture, I don't see who's there, I see who's missing. It's an odd feeling to looking forward to dying, because you know that's when your heart will be made whole again. Alex would have never wanted this. Don't do it to your parents.
The end of the world at the palm of my hand. If you can't come with me, I'll understand.
It was March 31st. And that evening was one of the most special evenings we had had in a long time. I told him to come downstairs. And I wanted to hug him. I don't know why. And came down the stairs and he hugged me and he said, "Dad, I'm so sorry for all the things that I had put you through in the past." And I said, "Don't worry about it, Daniel. You're just a kid and you're just learning, but you're going places. You got a great future coming ahead of you. I'm just so proud of you. You have no idea." All right, Dad, good night. Love you. Good night, son. I love you too. See you tomorrow morning. Next day, about 8 o'clock in the morning, when I walked into his room, he was in a lying position facing up against a headboard with his hands over his chest. And I saw his eyes. He had a little blue on top of his lips. I screamed at the very top of my lungs, "Daniel! Daniel! Daniel!" called the paramedics. They carried him down the stairs and put him on the first floor and started doing chest compressions. And then they took him to Los Angeles Children's Hospital, where we were put in a waiting room. And later on that evening, a team of doctors came in. And it said, your boy is just a shell of a boy that he was before. He's not coming back. My only child. I couldn't protect them. I couldn't save his life. I couldn't save my son, Daniel. My son is gone. It wasn't supposed to be this way. He was supposed to graduate from high school this year. If you love yourself, if you respect yourself, if you love life, you have a choice. Because it is between life or death. This is no joke. You can and will die. How do I know this? I can tell you that I've met thousands upon thousands upon thousands of parents nationwide. I wish somebody had sat me down and had this talk with me about what fentanyl does to people. I didn't get that chance. You do.
You know, there's always been one main problem with the films that we make, and it's the reason why we try to keep them as real and as relatable as possible. People just so commonly think that it will not happen to them. I'm talking about great people, nice people, cool people, intelligent people with big plans for the future, big potential. Gone because of one choice they didn't know would end their life. Fentanyl is coming for anyone and everyone. So the most important message that I can give to kids, to teens, young adults, anybody, is the same old message we've heard time and time again. And that's to really get serious about not even trying a drug. You see, back when we first started, I was telling kids not to use drugs because you might get hooked, you might get addicted. Now there's not even time for that. Now it's don't try a drug because you might actually not wake up tomorrow. You might actually not get another chance. One choice is all it takes. If you don't believe that, I guarantee you, at this point, there was someone very similar to you who wished they could be here right now to look into the camera and look into your eyes and say, don't do it. Please don't do it. Please, I wish I wouldn't have done it. Don't do it. Don't risk your life. So my question for you is, are you going to listen? Or will it be your family and your friends holding your picture, wishing they could have been there to tell you?
This is my son, Alexander. He died at 14 years old from fentanyl poisoning.
This is our daughter, Jessica. She was 29 years old when she was killed by fentanyl.
This is my daughter, Alex. She was murdered at 20 years old by a drug dealer who sold her a counterfeit pill made of fentanyl.
This is my son, Daniel Joseph Puerta Johnson, killed at the age of 16 by illicit fentanyl.
This is my son.
This is my son.
Okay, so that was really sad. Hold on. Sorry, guys, I'm new to this, so, I'm still trying to figure out what I'm doing with all this. This is my Damien. Luckily I talked to him about this kind of stuff, so, he should never put me through something like what those parents experienced, but we did experience it a year ago with my boyfriend of almost 4 years. So, okay, I'm going to share my story now. Like I said, it was pre-recorded because I didn't think I would be able to keep my thoughts gathered and everything to do it live. But my neighbors are getting so hyphy outside right now. Anyways, okay. So here we go. Let me share this screen. I was with Mark Ferguson, aka Grumpy, for almost 4 years. He was the love of my life. He still is. He's my twin flame. I never would have guessed when I woke up on November 30th, 2020, that my life was going to change forever. We both slept really good the night before. Mark had been having trouble sleeping, and he actually slept a full night, which was really nice. Usually he was up out of bed, waking me up throughout the night, and he actually slept through the night. I had to do a Zoom meeting at 3 o'clock, and I'm not a morning person. I slept in, so it was maybe, 1 p.m. when I woke up. So he had already been awake. He made some lunch for him and my son, and I had to get ready for work. So I went into the kitchen to get something to drink, and there was spaghetti all over my stove and dishes in the sink, and he didn't put anything away. And I got really frustrated, and I yelled at him for leaving my kitchen a mess and stressing me out when he knew that I had to go to work. I told him, why couldn't he just ever make things easier on me so that I can have a stress-free day when I'm at work? And I didn't even have to go anywhere. I just had to get on the computer in my bedroom. I don't know why now that I got so upset. I really wish I didn't. You never know when it might be the last time that you see somebody. So he just looked at me and said he was sorry, and he walked out of my room. I continued to get ready for work. I took a shower, put on my makeup, all that stuff, went in my room. I did my Zoom meeting. It was over at 5 o'clock, and I still didn't go out of my room. I stayed in there for about another 2 hours watching videos on my computer. When I went out, I went into the kitchen and I seen that he had cleaned it, actually better than he had ever cleaned it before. Everything was put away spotless. And then I felt bad for yelling at him. So I went and looked on the balcony to see if he was out there. I thought maybe he was painting or something, and he wasn't. He wasn't there. His car wasn't outside, so I knew that he had left. And I thought maybe I'll call him. And then I thought, no, I'll wait a little bit. So I did some more stuff around the house, and then I remembered that I had to go grocery shopping. So I got my things together, and before I left, I sent him a text message, and I said, thank you for cleaning my kitchen. So when I pulled up to the store, I saw that he had replied to me, and he said, thanks for letting me sleep there. I'm sorry that I don't do things to make your life easier. I'm grateful to you. And I text him back, and I said, you know I care about you, right? Like, even when I'm being a bitch, I still love you and I still care. I went into the store. I was doing my shopping, and I looked at my phone and I saw that he had read my message, but he didn't respond. And to tell you the truth, I was a little bit bitter about this, because if I had read a message where he said he loved me and I didn't respond back and say I love you, that wouldn't have gone over too well. So I was a little bit upset that he would just let that go and not at least tell me I love you too. And I was going to call him and yell at him about that, but I didn't. I thought I just want to finish my shopping in peace. So I continued my grocery shopping. The store closed at 10, so I had to hurry up and finish. And like I said, I just wanted to do it in peace, so I figured I would call him when I got home. But I never got to, because when I pulled up in front of my apartment, I got a call from his best friend. And he said, Danielle, you might want to get over here. Paramedics are here and it's not looking good. And I said, what happened? And he said, it's Mark. He overdosed. And I said, I figured as much. What happened? What was it? And he said, China White, fentanyl. Mark didn't do fentanyl. When Mark and I had first got together, he had 17 years clean and sober from crystal meth. That was his drug of choice. And he was extremely active in the Narcotics Anonymous program, sharing his story in the hopes that he might help save somebody's life. He was in 2 clean and sober motorcycle clubs. He had made sobriety his lifestyle. And then while we were together, some things happened. He lost his job and he relapsed. And it was hard sometimes. It was really hard. There were times that we were completely toxic for each other. But no matter what, I still loved him. I still love him to this day. Like I said, he's my twin flame. So back to that night, I rushed over to the trailer park where he was at. And I pulled in and I couldn't get through because of the ambulance and the cop cars and all that. So I had to go around, and I went over to his friend's house, my friend also, the one who called me. And I found out that Mark had been trying to go over there, but our friend wasn't home. So what I'm assuming happened is while he was waiting for him to get home, he went 2 doors down and was hanging out with some chick who smokes fentanyl on a regular basis. And I mean, I'm assuming there was an opportunity there and he took it. I also found out that she didn't call 911 right away. That when he started overdosing, she went to the bathroom to flush her paraphernalia and her drugs. And who knows how long that took. And then she called our friend and said Mark's overdosing. She didn't even call 911 after she flushed all her shit. Our friend is the one who called 911 while he was on his way over across town. He showed up right before the paramedics did and tried to administer CPR, but he already knew it was too late. It pisses me off because Narcan could have saved his life if she would have called right away instead of being a selfish bitch and wanting to cover her own ass. And then she lied to the cops when they got there. That's a whole other story. But anyways, so I remember watching the camera that was pointed outside from our friend's house, and I saw the ambulance leaving, and I ran down there and I asked the paramedic that was outside, I said, "Are you guys taking him to the hospital?" And he said, "Are you family?" And I said, "I'm his girlfriend." And he said, "You might want to go in there and talk to them." And I said, "You're not taking him to the hospital." And he shook his head. And I walked into the trailer, and there was my boyfriend, the love of my life, laying on the floor with a blanket over him. He told me he would never abandon me. But on November 30th, 2020, he did. There's still not a day that goes by that I don't think about him, and that I don't miss him. Even when we used to fight, I would give anything to fight with him one more time. And the reason that I'm making this video is because Mark loved to share his story. He loved to share his story and help people. And I know that even in his death, he would want his story told. He would want his legacy to live on. And he would want people to know what happened to him if it meant that maybe somebody would think twice before they smoked fentanyl, because fentanyl is extremely strong, and it doesn't matter if you use it every day or if you just use it one time like he did. You can die from it, and you never know when that time is going to be. And if you don't have people around you who you can trust, who will save your life, like him, he had somebody right there who could have called for help, and she didn't. Not everybody calls for help. Not everybody has your best interest in mind. Some people are selfish and only care about themselves. And they will put themselves before you, even if it means that you take your last breath. And if it could prevent somebody from doing that, he would want his story to be told. Thank you. Okay, so that's my story with the love of my life. Sorry, I'm like trying not to cry right now. Thank you everyone for watching that. I'm gonna drop the link if anybody wants to say anything. If you have any stories you want to share, go ahead and click the link. It was funny because when the video first started, there was a motorcycle driving by really obnoxiously outside. I don't know if you guys could hear it, but my son and I were laughing because it's totally something that he would do. He had the loudest motorcycle that you've ever heard in your entire life. Huh, Damien?
Yeah.
And like when we actually broke up for a while and he would come and like, I don't want to use the word stalk, but he would stalk me. And he would come and rev his motorcycle really loud and like let me know that he was around and that, you know, I couldn't do anything without him being right there. He always said he would never abandon me. And so even when we did break up for a couple months right before he died, he never left me alone. He refused to leave me alone. And then we got back together for about 4 months before this happened. But yeah, it was funny. So if you guys saw us laughing in the corner of the screen, it's because the motorcycle that was outside.
It's so hard to keep a straight face.
Yeah, it was hard to keep a straight face. That's why I turned the camera off. But yeah, so thank you everybody for all of the support. And yeah, he would be behind trees. He like my sister is not lying. Like he would be in my apartment complex and he would be lurking around like if we didn't see him there. I mean, it's funny now. It wasn't very funny at the time. It was very stressful. But, you know, I don't know. I really wish that he would be hiding behind a tree somewhere right now. I really do. Yeah, so if anybody wants to say anything, you don't have to show your face. You can just hit the link if you want and then just put turn off the camera and you can just speak if you want. Yeah. I'm kind of at a loss for words right now. I'm just trying to keep these stupid, salty, watery things in my eyeballs and not let them fall down my face because I don't like crying in front of people. I'm all
I have no idea how I haven't fallen into tears yet.
I know. Damien likes to pretend that he has something in his eye when he's crying.
Oh no, I'm not holding back. I just don't know how I'm not tearing, like actually really tearing up right now.
Then why are you wiping your eyes?
I mean, I still have a lot of tears.
Do you want to share a memory about Mark?
It's been tough one. And it's been a while.
Damien's seen some stuff. We went through some things with my kid. I mean, half the time he was with his dad, but the times that he was with us, I mean, there's been some, we had some pretty crazy fights, but we also had some times where we were really super in love. And even when we fought, I still wanted to be with him. You know, when people relapse, especially when they have that long clean, he was clean for 17 years. And it was almost a year into our relationship when he relapsed. And I just always remembered that person that I fell in love with. And I knew he was still in there somewhere. And there was a point in time when we did break up. And I basically told him I miss my boyfriend. He had to go and find him again and bring him back to me. And the sad thing is that he did. He spent a couple months by himself. He went and he was staying in a motorhome on some people's property out in the middle of nowhere. And he did a lot of inner work, and he actually changed a lot. He came back to me a changed person, and I didn't even appreciate it because I was always waiting for that next moment that something was going to pop off. I was waiting for that next fight. And I would even try to pick fights with him sometimes because I thought that that's where it was going. And I was stuck in a pattern of behavior that we had been in the whole time. Well, not the whole time, but a lot of the time when we were together, when he was getting high. And he would never bite back. He was totally different. And I wish now that I could tell him that I seen the way that he changed. Because I can't tell him now. I didn't realize it until after he was gone. So, you know, when you're with somebody and you love somebody, don't take that time for granted because you don't know when it's going to be the last time. You know, that whole day that he died, I had multiple instances where I would have a thought in my head that said, call him. And I ignored it because, you know, I had yelled at him earlier in the day and I was enjoying the peace and quiet, to be honest. You know, he had left and I was just hanging out at the house and it was peaceful and I didn't want to call him and risk, you know, fighting with him, arguing with him. And I mean, our last text messages, he was not any kind of hostile to me at all. You know, he told me he was grateful for me. And I wish I had picked up the phone then. There's so many times that day that I wish that I had picked up the phone. Oops. There's Damien. He said he was a kind man and he shouldn't have gone the way he did. No, he shouldn't have. This dumbass fucking hood rat didn't call 911 like she should have. She stole all kinds of stuff from him. His money was never recovered. He had a vape pen with DMT in it, which, I mean, people can think whatever they want about that, but I would have loved to have had that so that I could try to contact him in the spirit realm now, and that was never found. You know, so she totally robbed him as he was dying. And then she calls our friend and says, hey, Mark's overdosing. What do I do? And he said, do CPR. Like, did you try doing CPR? You have to give him mouth to mouth and you have to do chest compressions. And she said, ew, he puked. So when our friend got there, he wiped his mouth, started giving him mouth to mouth while his girlfriend did chest compressions. But it was already too late. He was already gone. His body, At that point, when our friend showed up, his body was already swelling. So he was already gone.
If she truly was a friend.
She wasn't a friend.
Anything. She wouldn't have cared if he could.
She's just some fucking hoe. I don't even know why he went over there. He was waiting for his friend to get home. And I know, Mark, if somebody had, his drug of choice was crystal meth, but he would do whatever anybody had. I mean, if we're being honest about it. And I'm not embarrassed of it. That's who he was. And when he was clean and sober, he was clean and sober. He didn't take prescription pills. He didn't drink. I mean, whatever he did to an extreme. And that's just the bottom line. But I know damn well that fentanyl was not his drug of choice. He didn't do heroin on a daily basis. And I have the toxicology reports to prove that he only did it that one time. Because there was a point in time where I was wondering, did he have a secret life going on that I didn't know about? No, because the toxicology proved that he had such a small amount of fentanyl, like 2 nanograms of fentanyl in his system, and it killed him. I mean, it's such a tiny, tiny amount. That's like 1 hit of fentanyl. You know, they take it and they melt it down on foil and smoke it with a straw or something like that. I've never done it. I don't know. But I mean, that's like 1 hit of fentanyl. And it killed him. So, you know, it can happen to anybody. That's why I think it's so important for people to be aware of the choices that they're making. You know, if that's what you want to do and that's what you want to, that's the game you want to play, that's your right to choose that. But you should at least be educated and aware of what you're choosing. And, you know, if you have children, if you have a significant other, if you have people who love you, that you love back, you know, it might not be a good idea because it's like playing a game of Russian roulette every time.
And if you do take at least something like that, even if it's like smallest bit, should at least have someone who.
Yeah, if you're going to do something, yeah, Damien's right. See, my child, I have these kind of dialogues with him. And he's at least smart enough to know that if you are going to do something like that, you should be with somebody that you trust. Because you need to be with somebody who will call 911. You know, his best friend was, I'm sure still is, extremely angry because he said when it happened, he said, I would have went to jail if I had to, if it meant saving somebody's life. Not this bitch. She didn't give a fuck. And then she told the cops, okay, check out this story that she told the cops when they got here. Tell me how much sense this makes, if anybody thinks this makes any sense at all. She said that he showed up, he went into the bathroom for a long time, and he was doing drugs in the bathroom, or so she assumed. And then he flushed the toilet a bunch of times. Like, who goes to somebody's house and goes and gets high in their bathroom and then flushes all their shit down the toilet? Like, does that make any sense at all? No. And I don't know how the cops didn't like look at her and be like, is something not right about what you're telling me? Like, and what I'm thinking is that maybe something that like she took from him or something that she had, you know, maybe his DMT pen, I don't know, maybe something wouldn't flush all the way down the toilet and she was worried about them finding it. So that's why she gave them that bogus story, because it doesn't even make any sense. People don't do that. And that pissed me off too. Like, who just goes and shows up somewhere and they're like, hey, I need to use your bathroom so that I can flush all my shit. Like what, his money too? Did he flush his money too, bitch? Because I know damn well that he had $140 cash on him before he left my house that day. He was supposed to go pay his storage, and his storage never got paid. So where'd the fucking money go? Like, as you can tell, I'm a little bit angry at this fucking hood rat still to this day. Let me catch that bitch alone. She's homeless and living in her car in a Winco parking lot. Otherwise, I'd fucking handle it. But there's cameras everywhere. And, you know, just saying. Let me catch her. And I even tried to be a woman and approach her. I wanted to know about the moments before he died. I wanted to ask her some fucking questions because this is the love of my life. And I have questions about what conversation were they having before he died. Did he say, you know, like just the things that I wasn't present for, that I would just simply like to know. I want to know all the gruesome details. I want to know, did he grab his chest? Did he fall to the floor? I want to know all that shit because this is my man, you know? This is the person that I love. And I wanted to help me process it, cope with it, and be able to accept it and move on. I want to visualize it in my head. That's how I learn things. That's how I can accept things. So I want to see it for myself. Even if I wasn't there, I want to be able to imagine what happened. And I tried to approach her on Facebook Messenger and ask her some questions. And I didn't even come at her sideways or nothing. And the bitch wants to fucking ignore me multiple times. She basically, in my opinion, murdered my boyfriend through her negligence and through her selfishness. And she can't even have the fucking decency and respect to at least tell me what the fuck exactly happened when he died. No, she doesn't sleep at night, Miss V, because she's fucking high. So I'm sure she's not sleeping well at night at all. Who knows if she even wants to? I mean, she's sleeping in her car. So, you know, that does make me feel a little bit happy that, you know, karma's catching up to her slowly but surely, but it's not good enough to me. I would even be willing to like let it go. And, you know, because he made his own choice. He made his own choice, period. He didn't have to do what he did. So I'm not holding her 100% responsible. And if she would just speak to me ever, if she would just contact me and be like, hey, I'm really sorry, I could have done more. What do you want to know? I would never, I would let go of the anger and the feeling of like vengeance seeking that I have in my heart for her. But it's the fact that she would just completely ignore me like I'm just fucking nothing. And then I found out that she had told her daughter that she was comforting me all night that night and all this shit. And I was like, what? When I got there, I was like, why in the fuck is he here smoking this shit with some fucking hood rat anyways? And she was like, all hysterical like that and couldn't even fucking speak a word to me then either. And then she goes, he loved you. Like, yeah, bitch, I'm aware. Like she said, the one thing she did say to me, which I did ask her, what did that mean? She said, he was going to go home and tell you exactly how he felt about you. And I'm like, when I got to thinking about that later, I was like, what the fuck does that mean? How he really felt about me? Because as far as I was concerned, we loved each other, you know? So like, what else was there to say? But then again, he was like one of these really dramatic kind of people who would like sit me down and confess his love to me like on a daily basis. So that's probably all he was going to come home and tell me, you know? Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't know if it was going to be anything bad. Like she didn't give me, you know, the decency and the respect to tell me. So I forever have that question in my head. Yeah, Mandy, he had like 2 nanograms of fentanyl and like I want to say 11 milligrams of methamphetamine or something like that. But Damien, don't do that. Okay. Don't. But I mean, I knew that he did crystal meth. Like as long as he wasn't on the needle, I didn't really even care about that because it didn't affect his personality to that extent that it really bothered me. I mean, obviously you would want somebody you love and care about to not do stuff like that. But, you know, for it being somebody that I loved, it was something I could tolerate provided he wasn't doing it intravenously, because that's when it changed his whole personality. But he had stopped doing that during the time that we were broken up, which is why I accepted him back into my life. But yeah, but he had the tiniest amount of fentanyl in his system. And I know that that's what did it. So yeah. Yeah, Sarah, I'm not letting it go. I am not letting it go. It's just that, you know, I'm not going to do something to jeopardize my freedom. You know, I need to be here for my child and all. But is it possible he didn't know that it was laced? You know, there's a part of me that's, you know, would want to be ignorant and say that that's possible, but he knew. I already knew that she did fentanyl because he had told me. So I'm pretty sure that she probably pulled her shit out and he was partaking in the festivities with her. I mean, I wasn't there, so I can't say for sure 100%, but I know him, and I'm sure he did it of his own free will. I don't think he got something that was laced, no. Mm-hmm. Yep. So I'm going to drop the link again in case anybody else wants to come up. I would like to stay on here at least. He died at 10:47 p.m. I would like to take a moment of silence for him at that time. So there's the link again if anybody wants to come up. Otherwise, after I do a moment of silence for him, I'm probably going to end this because I don't really have too much more to say unless anybody has any questions. But I do appreciate everybody who came to share this day with me. It was really hard. Last night I had super anxiety and I cried a couple times before I finally fell asleep. And then I had to go to work today, and all day it's like all I could think about. I'm like, this man used to come to my work before we were ever together. Let me tell you guys a story. So I'm just going to front myself off right now. He was married before we were together. I'm going to add you in just 1 second, Miss V. He was married before we were together. And we would talk. I'm a night owl, so I'm always up like late at night, and he worked graveyard shift at his job, and we would be on Messenger talking all night. And we had so many similar interests with our spirituality. You know, we loved conspiracies and just different things that I can't talk to a whole lot of people about because people are not interested in it. And we fell in love. And I told him, he would always go to my work and stuff and come see me. And I told him, you're married, you can't do this. And he said, okay. And then it was a week later and he was back there, you know, and he wouldn't leave me alone. He would never leave me alone, you know, and I couldn't help the way that I felt. Him and his wife broke up, and it was like, he called me that night, like, well, we had a talk, it's done, you know, and we were together ever since. And, you know, I almost feel like the way that things turned out is kind of like my karma for falling in love with a married man, but I would never do it again. You know, I learned my lesson on that one. But okay, so I'm going to add, there's Miss V, and then we got Mandy. Hi, guys.
Hey, Danielle. Hi. Please don't ever say that this is your karma.
Well, I mean, it kind of feels that way sometimes.
No.
You know, it's like, you know, he was with her for like 15 years and, you know, she got all the best years of his life. And then he got with me, and a year later, it's like, you know, a lot of things went to shit. But you know what? I still loved him through all of that. And I would still be with him just like that if I could, you know?
Right. I just wanted to say you are so brave to be able to tell this story. It's coming up on a year today. This is my this is my first time hearing your story. You just never know what someone has been through or what they're going through. And you could be the reason they don't jump. You know what I'm saying? And I just wish more people would be kind. Like, this really breaks my heart. I mean, I didn't hear the beginning, so I will be watching the replay. But I am so sorry that happened.
Me too.
But thank you for telling your story because it could help so many other people. I have a story I would like to tell, but I can't right now. But this is giving me strength to be able to. And I'll just say, you know, I did have a loss. My cousin was murdered. And as a matter of fact, her story was just featured on Snapped, and it happened in 2004, and I'm still bad. You know, that was my best friend and my first cousin. It was domestic violence. But thank you for telling your story.
Thank you.
Sorry, Miss V.
Yeah, it's
Oh,
it's
thank
really
you.
hard, and I normally don't speak about it. You know, to verbalize it makes it real, and I have a really hard time doing that. But yeah, I appreciate you giving me the words of encouragement. It was really hard for me today. I sat here in front of my computer and I was like, I don't want to do this. But I'm glad now that I did. I feel a little bit better, to be honest. Oh, I'm gonna add my sister to the stream.
And you look beautiful, by the way. I love your tattoos. You kicking butt over there.
Thank you. Sarah? This is my sister's first string yard. Are you there?
So fun the first time.
I know, I don't know if she realizes. You know, you could speak and then we can hear you. If
Still there?
Sarah. I can hear an echo a little bit from her device. You can't figure it out. So you gotta go to the YouTube app and press pause on the YouTube. That way you won't be able to hear any feedback. Oh, there she goes.
And I wanted to say your son is so handsome.
Thank
How
you.
old are you?
13.
13?
He's taller than
Wow.
me now.
He is already?
I'm only 5'3", so
I was just about to say, how tall are you?
I'm a little itty bitty thing.
This was a tough live stream to watch and listen.
Well, thank you for sitting with me, Dame. I appreciate it.
Okay. And when I was gone, I was trying to look for something that would be counted as a memory with them.
Did you find one? Did you come up with one? It's okay, Dan. We put you on the spot. You don't have to.
I was hoping to find that ring, like that sleeping bag.
The what?
The sleeping bag that you gave me.
Oh, that's put up in my room. Yeah, Mark had given him a sleeping bag that belonged to Mark's grandfather. I want to say his grandma actually sewed it like way back in the day, and it's like really super warm. They don't make them like that anymore. He was looking for that, but it's in my room.
Yeah,
so
I was looking for it because it was one of the best gifts he ever gave me.
Aww. It's awesome.
I'm going to go ahead and jump down. I just wanted to say those few words, and thank you for having me up.
Thank you for coming up. I appreciate it.
I'll be in a chat.
Okay, thank you.
Bye, Miss V.
Hi, Mandy.
Hi. I just wanted to tell you, you did a great job. I'm so sorry I was late. I thought you were coming on. It's 1:40 my time, and I thought you were coming on at 1:30, so I thought I was early.
Oh, it's okay.
I was late, so I'll have to go back and watch the beginning, but I did kind of skip back a little bit and listen to some of what you said. And I mean, you're a bad bitch, okay? You just need to know that. Like, you are a bad bitch. You have been through some major shit that nobody else can ever imagine what you've gone through. And you're still standing tall, all 5'3" of you, you know? So that's
I have
amazing.
no choice. You know, I remember when this first happened, and it was like, I kept feeling like I'm gonna go to sleep and I'm gonna wake up and it's not gonna be real, you know?
Right.
Like, nobody ever knows what something like this would feel like unless it happens to you. That's all I can really say about that. Like, you can't even put words to it.
And even if it does happen to you, you still don't know how another person feels because every situation is so different, you know? I mean, none of us know exactly what your relationship was like with Mark and the love that you two had for one another. So even if we have lost somebody, we've never been in your shoes, you know? So it's still, I went to school with a girl, and her older brother was a year ahead of us, and he overdosed at somebody else's house, and he was there with his buddy, but the girl that owned the house was a nurse. And when he overdosed, she made her boyfriend carry this guy down the road across the street and lay him on the sidewalk. A school bus driver saw him wrapped up in a blanket on the side of the road doing her bus route in the morning because she didn't want him at her house because she was a nurse. I mean, she just tossed him on the side of the road, like the things that people do. I call it drug friends. There's real friends and then there's drug friends. And drug friends, you cannot count on a drug friend ever. And that's so sad.
And you would think a nurse's house would be the best place to overdose because a nurse might know a little bit, a thing or two about how to save somebody's life.
Like, I don't think that's a true nurse.
Yeah, that's not a true nurse because a nurse takes an oath to save people.
Exactly.
Not throw them away like trash. Can you imagine what she's like to her patients?
Right. Well, she's not a nurse anymore. She lost her license after that, thankfully.
Because you can't help what somebody does at your house. That's the whole thing that I don't think people are aware of either, that maybe I should mention right now, because I've looked it up because I wanted to press charges on this chick. If you're with somebody and they overdose, they can't charge you in most states. Some states maybe, but I know in California, they won't charge you with a crime because it's not necessarily your fault. Not only that, but that would deter people from calling for help if they're going to go to jail for doing so. So you don't actually get in trouble. If you call 911 and the cops come and everything, you can have all the drugs, all the paraphernalia right there on the table. They'll look the other way like it's not even there because they don't want people to not call for help. So,
it's that way in Indiana too.
Yeah. So if God forbid somebody ever does overdose at your house and you're worried about getting in trouble, don't worry about that. The cops are not going to take you to jail. They don't care what you have right there, even in their plain view. It's like one of the exceptions to the plain view rule, because usually if they come in your house for a legitimate reason and there's something in plain sight, they can take you to jail on it. But it's a time when ethically they won't.
Right.
They'll ignore it like it's not even there.
Yeah, because if someone's overdosing, drugs just being on the table is the last thing
Exactly.
Ever care about.
Exactly. Somebody's life is more important than their dope sack.
Exactly. Yeah, it's that way in Indiana too. And they had actually just passed that law, I think, right before he had overdosed. So that's like everybody was so mad. And yes, I think she did get jail time for tampering with human remains. I think that was her charge.
Yeah,
so,
she wouldn't
and her
be
boyfriend.
in trouble if she had called 911.
Right. I mean, she could have lost her job or something. There could have been minor repercussions from it, but she could have saved his life.
Yeah.
Like your priorities are that jacked up. Like I will never understand that. Never.
Well, if she ended up losing her license, then that just shows that karma comes back to you one way or another.
Exactly.
It's completely wrong of her to just pick the guy up and put it on the side of the sidewalk. If you're going to do that, at least try to do CPR.
Yeah, do something. I mean, and they didn't even call after they moved him out of the house and put him on the sidewalk. They didn't call 911 then either. They could have called 911 and said, "Hey, there's some dude laying on the sidewalk over across from our house or something." They didn't do anything. The bus driver saw him out there hours later.
That's terrible.
With children on the bus. Like the bus driver couldn't even stop because he had kids on his route. He was on his route. So he called it in immediately. But I just, it's so sickening. I had a family member a while back that if somebody wouldn't have called about that family member, they would have died. Like they were Narcaned and they were saved. So, our officers go through so much, like you can get Narcan for free.
You can here too. Can we just take a moment of silence for Mark right now?
Yes.
This time of death. Love you, Mark. Okay. I'm like, that's about all I can handle of the silence because I really don't want to cry. Damien, if you keep moving my table with the laptop on it, I swear to God.
You're going to be scrapping.
Yeah, so I know people are scandalous.
Yeah,
and they don't
and
care.
People need, I mean, that's one thing that I think that people don't understand. You know, we those of us who aren't addicts don't understand what it's like for an addict. I've seen it firsthand. I have a very, very close friend that she has 5 kids and she battles addiction, and she has an abusive husband that battles addiction. And those 5 children, I can't even explain to you. I mean, it breaks my heart. You know, it breaks my heart. She's finally clean, but her husband, I don't know about him. Recently, I actually, over the last few months, I haven't been able to speak with her. So I don't know if her husband is still doing his thing or not, but she spelled it out for me a lot, you know, and I'm sure Mark did for you too. You know, you don't understand it unless you do it, unless you've had that addiction. And once you get a hold of the drug takes a hold of you. You know, like the drug overpowers everything in your life. So when people are like, well, why didn't they take care of their children? How could they do that? Or, you know, it's not really them anymore. Once they start doing a drug, it's a different person.
Well, you know why? Because I do not subscribe to the idea that addiction is a disease. I think addiction is a coping mechanism for trauma.
Right.
It's just the way that certain people find comfort from the traumas that they've experienced that they have not dealt with. I think that addiction is an effect and not a cause in somebody's life. So that's why you can have somebody who's clean and sober for 17 years and then they relapse because somewhere deep within them that trauma has not ever been healed because they have been focused that entire time on addiction and on tools to not get high. But people don't realize you need to examine the reason why you got high in the first place. And you need to deal with that because if you just push it to the back of your mind, you can go for, 5 days, 5 years, 15 years, and you cannot get high because you've learned better tools of how to cope. But there might be that one day where that, thing goes off in your brain and it might even be subconscious and you're not even consciously aware that you just had a whole emotional flashback to something that happened to you in your life. And now you turn to that as, a subconscious comfort, knowing that it's going to make you feel better in that moment. And if more people would treat their trauma instead of only their addiction, they might actually be able to do that inner work and heal within to where they wouldn't feel a need to get high anymore.
I agree with that. And I think that there's also different levels of addiction too, though. I mean, I know, oh, hold on.
It depends on the drug too, because, when you have opioids, you get physically addicted. So even if you don't want to do it in your mind anymore, even when your spirit's tired, your body needs it. Same thing with benzos and with alcohol. I was an alcoholic. When I actually lost custody of Damien for like 13 months when he was 3 years old, I started drinking to help cope with that experience. And I was an alcoholic for several years. And I mean, like, I didn't go anywhere without a bag of beers in my trunk that I could drink while I was gone from my house. Like, I had to wake up and drink a beer. That's before I even brushed my teeth or took a shower, I was drinking. And I remember when I wanted to quit and I said, okay, I'm not going to drink anymore. And I woke up the next day and I was like shaking, like, and I was sweating and I couldn't even quit when I was done. I had to continue to drink for like a week and just drink less and less every day so that I would not, what's the word, like withdrawal from it like that.
Right.
You know,
You had to wean off of it.
because I wasn't about to go to medical detox, you know, like, cause I'm a pretty strong-willed person. So if I want to stop doing something, I can stop doing it, but my body wouldn't even let me, you know?
Right.
So
When I heard about wet brain or something also for people who drink, that if
What
you
is
just
it?
cold wet brain, is that right? Where if you just cold turkey on alcohol, that your brain starts
You could
doing funky
die.
things. Right. Yeah, and it
You can hallucinate all kinds of stuff.
yeah.
Yeah,
I
it's
know
really
it's
dangerous.
dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And that's what, sorry, my daughter was using the ice maker on the front of the refrigerator, and I knew it was going to be really loud in my background.
It's okay.
But, you know, there's different reasons why people do start using, you know, like my friend that I was talking about, she initially started with pain medication because of a physical thing that happened to her. And she went to a doctor and was prescribed pain medication. And then she was cut off from that pain medication. So then she started buying it on the streets, and then she couldn't find pain pills anymore. So then she would buy other things instead to help with her pain. And it
Heroin's
turned
cheaper.
in, right, exactly. And I'll tell you what, we had one pain clinic that closed down in my city. And when it did, they cold turkeyed. Oh, they were seeing over 1,300 patients in 1 week. And they cold turkeyed every patient. They told every patient to go to their primary care physician. And she was like, my doctor's not going to write me anything. That's why I was going to the pain clinic, you know? So, yeah, we had so many heroin overdoses within the first month after that office closed because of that reason. You know, people didn't know their tolerance. They had never done
Exactly.
heroin before.
I was just
It's
about to say,
dangerous.
if they're not experienced with it, they're going to see these other heroin addicts that have been doing it for who knows how long, years sometimes, and they're going to think that they could do that much.
Right.
So
I
that
just,
makes sense.
I appreciate you doing this because, you know, my friend has had, I forget there's a word for it she told me about one time. I don't even remember. Is it astigmatism? So, I don't know, something like that. She was trying to explain it to me, but it's like perceptions of people. You know, you look at somebody and think, oh, they're a drug addict.
A stigma. Yeah.
There you go. Thank you. And, you know, she was like, I get judged. You know, if people know that I'm in recovery, I get judged, and I'm in recovery. You know, she's like, I'm not even an active addict anymore. I'm working so hard. And I saw her work hard. I mean, I saw her cry, and I saw her go through withdrawals, and I saw her fight. And, you know, she did it for her children. And I couldn't imagine. I don't want people that are addicts or are in recovery to be looked at as less than, you know?
Sometimes drugs are the only thing that will save your life, you know, because like I was talking about with like trauma, and when people use it as a coping mechanism for trauma, you know, that might be the option as opposed to suicide that day.
Right.
You know, and people need to realize this. Like, for these people, this is what they feel that they need, you know? This is what's getting them through their day. And, you know, God bless you if you don't ever experience something so painful that you would turn to something like that to help you cope with it. But for people who do, it shouldn't be. That's why I don't like the whole addiction as a disease thing, because these people, they're sick, but it's not on that level. It's on a way deeper level. And I think that people forget to have compassion for you know, their fellow human when they label it that way, instead of realizing that these people are in internal pain that we can't see, you know?
Right. Right. And
Yeah.
how do you feel about, like, one thing that I've struggled with my friend is I don't want to enable her. You know, I don't want to make excuses for her, but at the same time, I want to have compassion for her. So, like, what is your view of enabling addicts?
Well, first of
Or
all,
how?
there's a difference between an excuse and an explanation, you know?
Absolutely.
So somebody has a reason for why they're doing what they do. It doesn't excuse their behavior if they're hurting other people in the process, but there's still an explanation for it. And so, you know, it's like you don't want to do things like give them money that might buy that sack of heroin that's going to kill them, or that fentanyl pill that's going to kill them, you know, but at the same time, you can still love them. And, you know, sometimes you have to give people tough love. That's what I had to do with Mark when we broke up. You know, I was like, he was lying to me all the time and stuff. And I would see, you know, needle marks all over his arms, and he would tell me that he wasn't shooting up. And I was just like, I can't do it anymore. I love you. And I can't do it. You know, like it's painful. It's hurting me. And you got to go get right with yourself and then come back to me, you know, and he did. But it took that because for, you know, for almost 3 years, I had been telling him, you know, if I catch you doing this one more time, you have to leave. And then I would catch him doing it and I wouldn't follow through. And I finally had to just follow through as much as it killed me. And sometimes that's, you know, like they used to say on that show Intervention, I love you, but I can't love you to death, you know?
Absolutely.
So, I mean, yeah, you don't want to enable somebody, but at the same time, you don't want to completely turn your back on them either, because that might be the thing that actually pushes them over the edge. It's a very fine line. It's a tightrope that people have to walk around, you know, when they're dealing with addicts. But I think the most important thing is if you can try to get through to that person and make them realize that there's something deep within them that they're not dealing with, that they're not looking at, and help them look at that, you know?
Right.
Like I'm really good at like seeing somebody's pain, you know, and getting them to feel comfortable to talk to me about it. Like I want to hear it all. I want to hear all the ugly details that you don't tell other people because you're embarrassed, because I'm not going to judge you for it.
Same.
You know, I want to help people heal.
Yep.
And it's deeper than just the fact that they go and get high.
Right. I agree. I'm the same way. I think that's why you and I hit it off so much, you know. I mean, just in the emails, us talking back and forth. I mean, it was when you sent that email and was like, okay, I'm going to try this. I hope this makes sense. I read through it and I was like, it makes total sense. You know, like, I mean, I cried as I was reading. So, and, you know, I mean, and that stays safe. Like, you know, like I wouldn't put anything out that you wouldn't put out. And even then I probably wouldn't put it out unless you wanted me to. You know, I just, people need to know that they do have a safe place that they can go, a safe person that they can talk to, get advice from. You know, I think that's very important for anyone, but especially somebody who's struggling with addiction of any kind.
Mm-hmm. Were you present when I first started my video and there was a loud motorcycle in the background?
No, but I heard you talking about it, and you said Mark would do that outside of your place. Yeah.
I was like, there he goes, giving me signs, you know? What's crazy? Okay, so I have a story about that. So my niece, my sister's daughter, Serena, she has a daughter named Enza, who is, God, how old is Enza? Like 2 years old, I believe. Right?
Like 2.
Yeah, Enza's 2, right?
Yeah.
Like 2.5. So Mark died. She was born. Okay, so she was born July of 2019, and then Mark died November 2020. So she still, you know, wasn't really totally like, you know, as cognitively aware as she is now, right? Like now she talks and she's all over the place, and she's just the cutest little Leo goddess that you've ever seen. But so she got in my car one day and she was sitting on my lap in the driver's seat. You know, I mean, the car wasn't driving or anything. I was just sitting in it. And I had a picture of Mark and Damien up in the little sun visor right there that I could look at while I was driving. And she points to it and she goes, motorcycle. And it's like, she had never said that word before. She wouldn't have known that he rode a motorcycle. Like she wouldn't have a memory of him like that, you know? And I'm just like, God damn, like if that isn't a sign, you know, that he's here, I don't know what is, because like, why would my little baby niece, my 2-year-old baby niece, just say motorcycle and point to him, you know?
I mean, he's so around you all the time. Like all the time. Even just when you're around me, I know he's around you.
Mhm.
You know,
I know
I
some
mean, just
crazy things have happened on your live streams, so
right, right. Well, and when you recorded your message for tonight, I mean, that noise, I swear that was him saying, I'm here.
yeah, I didn't even. I'm all here
There's a
goes
motorcycle.
there goes the motorcycle outside again.
That's what it was? Or there is one now?
Right now.
Oh, see, he's telling you it was me.
Yeah, he's like, yep, you're right, you know?
Yeah, even afterwards, entertaining, that she seemed like she didn't even know what you just said.
Yeah, she was like, she just said motorcycle and pointed to the picture and then just went about her little 2-year-old business. You
And
know?
she just looked like she was just
I was like, how does she even know that word? Like, that was so crazy.
Couldn't even see on her face. She was like a little bit shocked.
Yeah, like she didn't even know what she was saying. But I mean, it was like clear as day.
Well, I mean, he could have said it to her and then she repeated it, you know? I mean, children are so, like, they're more susceptible to the other side, you know, because their minds are so open. I think that's why my gifts have been so strong my whole life. You know, I mean, I grew up in a house with 2 ghosts since I was 5, and my first experience was at 6. So I've always had that, you know, and I've raised my kids the same way. Like, we're not afraid of ghosts, you know, we know who ghosts are, we know what they are. And so I think that, I don't know, I just think it's amazing to be able to have that communication and the validation. I mean, the communication is one thing, but the validation is what seals the deal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and people can say whatever they want about those kind of experiences, but unless you have them for yourself, you're not going to know, you know?
Really,
Yeah.
I think those who say, oh, ghost ain't real, I don't think they have actually experienced a ghost.
Yeah, Damien used to always tell me about his sister. He had his sister from his past life that was in the future, because he said that on the other side that there's no such thing as time. So this is like a past life he's already lived, but it's like set in the future. And he used to tell me that his sister would be around him from his past life. And it's been a long time. It's been years, but he would swear, like I'd hear him talking or something, and I'd be like, who are you talking to? And he's like, my sister from my past life in the future. And
It's been a while. I barely can remember it now.
Yeah, he was really little, like 6, 5, you know.
That's so cool, though.
Just about to
I mean, I've never had any experience with the reincarnation thing or, you know, the past life or anything like that that I'm aware of, but
Okay. I'll
I
tell
don't
you a
doubt it.
story about like past life experiences. So I had a memory one time, and I was in a past life with Mark, and we were Vikings, and I had this whole memory like it happened in front of my face, except I don't know, like when I have like experiences like that, it's more of like a feeling as opposed to an actual vision. So, you know, I'm saying like I seen it, but it was more of like a knowing, like a download almost of information.
Right.
And it was like we were Vikings, and he told me, and I was with a bunch of like the other wives from the village or whatever. And him and the other husbands, they told us to wait in this underground cave because there was some kind of war going on outside. And they told us to wait there while they went and like, you know, fought the people or whatever. And then they never came back. And like, we all starved to death. Like, true story. I'm like 100% confident that this really happened.
Yeah, she's
and I used to yell at him and be like, you left me before. You know what I mean? Like, you didn't come back for me. And he was like, I'm sorry, I don't even remember this, you know, but like, I'm positive that it was him and it was me and it was in another life, you know?
Wow. See, that's awesome. I mean, I just got goosebumps. That's so cool.
Yeah, you know, and people who don't understand what a twin flame relationship is, I'll just explain that for people. Your twin flame is your like the other half of your soul, right? So it's like your soul splits into 2 and the both of you get incarnated together at the same time. like in the same lifetime. And it's usually, from what they say on the internet and stuff, it's usually some kind of really difficult circumstances. There's an age gap. There's some kind of thing, you know, some kind of class differential, or some reason why it's like the odds of the two of you getting together would be totally against you, but somehow you're magnetically, like electrically drawn to this person, like so strong. And it's meant to bring out, like, they're your reflection. So that doesn't mean that they're exactly the same as you. What it means is that it's going to bring out all of your shadow side. So everything that you hate about yourself, that you try to hide on a regular basis, like, it's going to bring that out of you so that you can work on it and you can heal it and you can grow from it and become a better person. And, you know, that's what the twin flame relationship is all about. And that's exactly what we experience together, the both of us, you know?
That's so cool too. I had never heard of twin flame until you told me.
Nobody wants to experience it. Like, I'll be honest, it's a gift and a curse. Like, it's almost, you almost don't want to experience it. It's very, very intense. But when it happens, you know.
Twin flame. Two people who have a deep soul connection. They seem to mirror one another, have shared similar life paths, history, and sometimes trauma. Explained by Lisa
Vallejos.
Vallejos. Usually a therapist who specializes in relationships.
Thank you.
Yeah, see,
Yeah.
I didn't know what it was. I actually looked it up on YouTube and I found Christina Lopez, and she has a huge channel, but she has a video that's titled Twin Flames, What Are They? And so I actually just pulled it up on YouTube so I could tell you exactly what it was called. But that's where, you know, I started kind of learning about it, because when you had said something about it, and then when you had talked about Mark's birthday and what you did for him on the birthday, and when I saw the spark and the flame, you know, it I don't know, it made me wonder more. So that's when I had found it and started kind of researching, like, what the heck is this twin flame thing all about, you know? So it's really neat.
And I mean, he was 14 years older than me. And, you know, it's like, I actually met him. He was friends with my sister, and I met him when I was 12 years old. But I mean, obviously at that time, like, nothing weird happened or anything. But when my sister, before she got clean, he was actually in the very next room from me getting high with my sister. And that was the first day that I ever met him. And it's like, who would have known so many years later that we would have ever been together, you know?
Right.
It was kind of weird. But I
Yeah,
mean,
Shannon said
I would
it's
have never guessed. He was totally not, you know, not that I really have a type per se, but he was totally not my type. But I just was very, very drawn to him. I couldn't help it.
Yeah, you see Shannon's message there about more than opposites attract.
Yeah, it's definitely more than opposites attract. Yeah. Yeah, this one right here, it says, when twin flames come together, they are physically drawn to each other. Not only is the sexual connection strong, but the partners also feel blissful and harmonious when physically close to each other. You must be prepared to accept the intense physical energy that exists with your twin flame. And that's true, because it's like strong, like, it's really strong. I mean, I'm not going to get into all that part with my son sitting right here, but
Right.
you know, I'm just saying.
It's heightened in all aspects of life.
Yeah, it's like, even, you know, like I said, even when I would catch him like doing stuff that I didn't want to tolerate, and it's like I couldn't let him go, you know, and he couldn't let me go either.
Well, and like I said, like, you guys loved hard, and that also meant that you fought hard, you
Yeah,
know.
you know,
And
to me, I feel like love and hate are not opposites. They're just on different ends of the passion spectrum, you know? Like, I used to tell him that I hated him, and he would be like, why do you have to say those words? Like, those words are so harsh and so hardcore. And I would be like, if I didn't love you, though, I wouldn't be able to say that I hated you.
I found out right when
That's
you said
true.
that.
What? What? Which part?
This whole thing. Right when you said that.
What? When I said what? Which part? It
No,
says the
like-
purpose of a twin flame relationship is to awaken you to your untapped potential and ignite a fire deep inside you. This relationship pushes you to do and be better. And at the end of the day, it opens up a world of possibilities you never even dreamed of. This journey demands spiritual growth. And I feel like that was what we actually bonded over, was our desire to grow spiritually together.
Yeah.
So that is crazy.
I
that
had found
you
out
just
right
found
when you
that.
said that you hated him and stuff.
Yeah, but that's only because I loved him so much that he would do things to piss me off and I would absolutely hate him for it. But I don't think if you just simply dislike somebody, or if you don't love them, you're going to feel like the opposite of love to me is indifference. Like you just don't care, but when you love somebody, you're also very capable of hating them at times, but that doesn't mean that you don't love them.
Right. I heard somebody describe it like this one time, and I was like, oh my gosh, that makes so much sense to me. I'm weird, I know. But they said for somebody that they don't have any respect for, they don't have any feelings towards them, they would say, I nothing you. It's not I love you. It's not I hate you. It's not I care for you. It's I nothing you. Like
Yeah,
you
just
are
like-
irrelevant.
Exactly.
Yep. So that makes a lot of sense. I
Mhm.
just it hit me though when she said that. I was like, that kind of sounds weird, but then I was like, no, that makes total sense.
Yeah, just complete indifference. Like it doesn't matter what happens to you. Like I don't care.
Right. And for somebody to say something to like emotionally affect you, you have to care about that person. I mean, I could walk by somebody sitting in like one night, example, my mom and I went out to eat one night, and we went to a salad bar thing, like an open bar thing, and I went up to get my food from the bar, and then I went back to the table and I walked past this table that there were two girls sitting there, and they were laughing at me, and they were making fun of my boobs, and they were saying that they were fake. And I heard them, and I just kept walking, and I was laughing when I got back to the table, and I told my mom about it. And she said, so when you walk back by again, look at them and just say, yeah, they're real. And then keep going. So I did. And they got so mad at me for saying something. And I was like, you're sitting there talking. You don't know me. Like you can't expect what my response is going to be because you don't know me. So
What's wrong
sorry.
with fake boobs?
Just get over it. They're real. Sorry that, can't help it.
I'm all like, Well, what's wrong with that? Nothing.
Nothing at all. I don't judge. I have no judgment for any reason. I mean, as long as you're not hurting yourself or anybody else, I will never judge anybody.
If that's the first insult somebody can come up with about you, it's like you're doing a damn good job at life,
Right. And you know what? My favorite comeback line is when somebody says something negative to me. I have been called way worse by way better.
That's true.
I mean,
Yes.
try again, do better.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Matt.
Hi, Matt. I'm all. If you're just joining, anybody who's here, please hit the like and subscribe button. I'm all. I get to say that now. What, Damien? What? Do twin flames break up? Many twin flames will end up making their way back to each other, even if it takes years, but not all. It depends on the level of work the twin flames do individually while they are separate. Some twin flame relationships can be toxic, however, and they may never reunite or shouldn't. That's true. But when you go and you take time apart and then you realize that when you're by yourself that you would rather be with that person, then you can't help but come back together.
I've just been doing a lot of research on twin flames.
My kid is inspired now to do all this research.
That's awesome, though. Knowledge is power.
Do you do this much research with your schoolwork?
Come on, Mom.
I'm just saying, why don't you do some research on math, huh? No.
And I got to tell you, when you were saying, about coming back together, the twin flames breaking up and coming back together, you've been live at that moment. You had been live for 1 hour, 44 minutes, and 44 seconds.
All that would be what, 17? All if you add it all together. That would be an 8, the number of infinity. The 2 twin circles. Boom, boom. Just saying.
Question: what is the difference of a twin flame and a soulmate?
So a soulmate, my sister is my soulmate. A soulmate is somebody who's another soul that you incarnate together multiple times, multiple lifetimes. Like that's your soul family. Your twin flame is actually the other half of your own soul. You share a soul. That's the difference. That's why it's so magical and powerful, because when you come together, you really do merge together as one being. And I'm not, like I said, with my little baby here, I'm not going to get into what that really means, but the adults can use their imagination and understand what I'm talking about.
Right.
What sign was Mark?
What sign was he?
Yeah.
He's an Aries. And I'm a Leo. Fire. Fire, fire.
Oh, she said, yes, I am. She's using Savannah's phone because her phone is charging.
Oh, is that my sister?
Yeah, I think so. Sarah,
Mm-hmm.
I think. Shannon, you are not talking to yourself, girl.
Oh yeah, because I said she's my soulmate. Yes, she is.
Right.
Yeah, my sister is the other love of my life.
You and Nancy are definitely best friends.
Yes, I love my sister with everything that I have.
Yeah, it's hard when you do live streams and you have the chat and then you have somebody come up on panel. Like, you want to have the conversation with the person on the panel, but at the same time, it's hard to involve the chat at the same time. So I always try to be respectful.
I feel like when I do this a couple more times, then I'll get more used to it,
I think you do good though. Like, when you're trying to get a message out, you get it out. Like you'll stop and talk to the chat, but you get your message out. And that's something I struggle with, because I want to read the chat and then I go down all different rabbit holes trying to get to my message that may have only been 2 sentences.
That's what I like about your live streams though, because you interact with us. I'll get better about it. But it's just when I have a specific point, that's, I do want to get to my point and like stay on topic, but.
Well, and that's respectful though, because a lot of people come to hear the point. I can't tell you how many crappy comments that I've gotten because I'm like, I'll read it and they'll say, okay, I've been here for an hour and I still haven't heard the point. Like, sorry, it happens in live streams. Maybe, I'll make a video or something, just getting to the point where I'm not in communication with other people, but everyone has a voice and you want to be able to hear people's voices, but I like the way you do it. Like, you put out your message and then you get to the communication with the chat. So that's awesome.
Oh, thank you, Shannon. I appreciate that. I know it is kind of awkward a little bit, because then I feel like it's my responsibility to like keep stuff going or whatever. Mandy's a great co-host right now.
Well, I didn't want you to be up here by yourself, and you did a kick-ass job. I mean, you really did. So I had to come up and give you congratulations for that, because I know tonight was not an easy thing for you to do, and I know looking forward to it. Yeah.
I thought it was going to be much harder. I feel like now that it's over with, I feel a lot better. So I really do appreciate everybody who's still here and everybody who listened to my story, because I feel like a weight has been lifted off of my chest to be able to explain it to people. Even though, like I said, I did a pre-recorded video because I didn't know if I'd be able to get it all out just, on the spot. But it's still, I feel better that I was able to verbally communicate it to people, because there's very, very few people in my real life, like my everyday life, that, luckily I do have like a very close family and stuff, and they all know how I feel and they know what I've been through. But I don't usually just talk about like emotional stuff with people whenever I do, I always end up like saying something funny or like really mean and vulgar to try to like distract myself from becoming emotional, because I don't like to show that to people and I don't like to cry in front of people. So, you know, I'll be like, I'll feel the tears coming and then I'll be like, yeah, but fuck that asshole. You know what I mean?
Right?
Just to like distract myself from feeling like that sadness. So I feel like I was actually able to show a little bit of my vulnerability and like my emotional side without like losing control of it by doing the pre-recorded video, you know, but I do feel better that I was able to share that with people.
Yeah, I think it was awesome. And being able to share it beforehand also and get a little bit of feedback to kind of cushion the feedback blow, I guess, however you want to word that. That's probably not the right wording, but you know, try to get a feel off of the story, that how you shared it and all of that. So
Yeah,
I think it was a great idea.
The few of you that did hear my story first, I do appreciate that you guys gave me the feedback on it and everything.
I felt honored to be included. So thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, Mandy, well, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to end my live stream. I know it's getting late for people and I'm starting to feel like a little bit exhausted myself, you know.
I can imagine.
Exhausted. Yeah.
Well,
So,
thank you for having me up, and thank you for doing this tonight. And I'll drop down.
thank you.
Have a good night.
You too. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
Okay, everyone. So I'm going to go ahead and get off here. Thank you for coming. Damien says bye. Isn't he just the cutest thing? I love him so much. The other love of my life. So thanks everyone for coming. I appreciate you all for being here and listening to my story. And if you know somebody who needs help, please don't judge them. Please love them through it and help them. And if you are struggling with addiction, especially to something as dangerous as fentanyl, please seek help, or, you know, just think twice, man, because you never know who you might leave behind. And it really, it's hard and it hurts. And, you know, you can't take it back once it's done. So thank you all.